Well, Professor David Lowe is a former Special Branch counter-terrorism officer, and he joins us now on the line from Liverpool in the United Kingdom. David, so as this attack now seems to be over, it's happened early in the morning, what will security services be doing right about now as they respond to what happened?
Well, the actual security service and the counter-terrorism officers, they will be trying to ascertain who's responsible for this. And I mean, I'm just going to make a purely educated guess here, and I'm sure many people are. I think this has got to be, or looks as though it's linked to the group Daesh, because of what happened really last week with the arrest of Abdeslam and quite a few other arrests that were conducted in Belgium. But they will then also, what's key to this is to looking at say at the airport now, gathering forensic evidence, trying to establish identity. Of course, if it's been a suicide bomber, that really is a difficult situation. But it'll also now be looking at those who've been assisting those who carried out the attacks today. That's primarily important too. So there's a lot of work to do, and it's a lot of work under very tragic circumstances.
And David, you mentioned there the arrest of Salah Abdeslam, who was wanted in connection with the Paris attacks. Now, there's a speculation, of course, this morning that this attack on Brussels is in response to that arrest. What are your thoughts on that? Could this be a direct response? And if it is a direct response, what does that tell us about the people who were capable of carrying out this attack this morning?
Well, there is the potential of a direct response. Of course, another avenue, because you always have to be open-minded. In any investigation, you've got to remain open-minded. There were threats in France, Belgium and the UK to expect a serious attack, and of course we have seen that this morning. So that could have been planned originally, but again, you can't rule out that this is a response. I mean, Daesh have been degraded in Europe with the arrests. They've, if you like, they're like a wounded animal. So this could be seen as a response to what has happened. And you know, it's the situation that we're in now. And of course, it's interesting for me to see that it's remained in Belgium. So obviously they're targeting Belgium. You've had the metro attack by the EU buildings. And this is a message that they're trying to potentially give out. So as I said, you've got to remain open-minded and look at the different aspects to this attack. Was it already planned? Is this in response? And who's carried it out. But it shows you that even with a heightened security in a state like Belgium and like many of the European states, themselves in Turkey and other states around the world, even with that heightened security, that it's still difficult to stop every type of attack.
Well, you mentioned the heightened security there, David, and of course we'll all be familiar with seeing the scenes of Brussels over the past few months, having military on the streets, highly armed military vehicles and personnel, but yet it didn't stop these attacks. And I just want to, if I can press you, David, on how you can stop these attacks. Speaking to some of your colleagues earlier, we spoke about some of the tactics that are employed by the security forces, and infiltration, monitoring of surveillance. But one of the fears must be that the terrorists are always just one step ahead.
Yeah, well, of course, I mean, again, I'm guessing because no one's claimed responsibility, but let's say it does appear to be Daesh. This is a large organisation, and yet, of course, absolutely key. And I know from my days when I was operational, there was different sources of information, and one of the best sources of information was actually handling informants, those who were on the periphery or those who had associations with those involved with terrorist groups. But if you're looking at the larger the organisation, and also another factor that's made things more difficult, groups have realised it's best to operate in small number cells and operate on that for two counts, because the smaller the cell, the less reliability on communications, on electronic communications, because if you use that, you're more likely to be picked up. Also, by having a smaller cell, they only know part of the operation. If they are arrested, it's going to make it difficult for the security and the police to ascertain the full picture. So you're looking at an organised group, a group that you know, these are not fools we're dealing with. We're looking at those who are very professional in what they do and how they're carrying it out, and they're well organised. But that said, I still think looking at at this group itself. There will be more arrests that will come out of this, and it will, if you like, degrade their capability even further in Europe. But it shows you how vigilant we've all got to be, not just the police and the security services, all of us. If we're not happy with something, it's always best to report it.
Absolutely. And David, if you could, we've obviously seen a massive security force response to the explosions this morning. And how does that start to come about by the security forces? Take us through, are these well-rehearsed drills? Is this something that they practice on a regular basis? How do the security forces prepare for attacks like this on major cities?
Yes, I mean, you'll find it throughout cities throughout the world. There's always, if you like, a rehearsal. There's always a practical exercise that is carried out to look at this. I mean, certainly for us here in the UK, a lot of lessons were learned from 2005 with the 7/7 bombing. So you're coordinating all the different emergency responses from the ambulances, fire service and so on. So it's not just the police, you're looking at all the agencies being involved, looking at hospitals and how many casualties hospitals can take. Are they ready for it? Have they got the staff there? So there's lots of rehearsals carried out for this. And of course, this is one part of counter-terrorism that no one really likes, is when the attack has happened. And certainly as an investigator, you'd rather prevent rather than have to detect who's done this.
Okay. Well, David Lowe there for us in Liverpool. We do thank you for your time. Thank you for your analysis. Thank you so much. Now, Nick Patterson was on a train at Malbec metro station at the time of the attack. He describes the moment the bomb went off.
Just after the train set off from the station, we felt a shockwave, and we joked almost in the moment about it. And within a few moments later, the train was stopping in the tunnel and powered down immediately. There was a little bit of panic amongst people in the train at that point, but soon calmed down, just expecting it to be a regular delay. And then at some point, the driver of the train came through the carriage, walking towards the rear, looking quite white and scared. And I think another metro employee as well. And it was shortly after that we began to smell smoke and see smoke. We didn't see anything as such. We didn't feel the explosion, not like your previous guest was just explaining, but it was still quite a scary experience. And after what felt like a long time, the people from the train started to evacuate us out of the back of the train along the tracks, and we had to walk probably about 200-300 meters through the tunnel, trying to hold scarves over our mouths against the smoke to get back to the station we just departed from.
And Nick, if you can,
and then escorted out of the metro building by a mixture of military and metro people.
Okay, Nick, if you can just give us an idea of what that was like walking through dark tunnels, having possibly heard an explosion, and how were other people, the fellow passengers, commuters on that train, responding to what was happening around them?
It was a real mix of feelings. You could see that some people were a little bit teary, and I think most of us, if not all of us, were quite scared. And some people were sat down in the carriages with panic attacks. But generally, people were supportive of each other, offering words, offering comfort, and support where they could. And I have to say, I praise the people from the metro for being so calm. And as we were actually getting to the point of exit, I got hold of one of the metro people and just said that there were people still sitting towards the front of the train, and they needed to get people to evacuate. So I think some people took the idea that they should just stay and not panic, but actually the smoke was building up, which was probably the most scary aspect of the whole thing. Was stuck in a tunnel with smoke